Welcome to Experts in Polo Shirts. I'm Elliott.
I'm Matt.
Today we're going to talk about app modernisation. Do you migrate, rebuild or retire?
So what do you exactly mean by modernising an application in Azure?
A lot of people with their legacy applications are leveraging IIS still. So they have a single server or a set of servers that run IIS and maybe a load balancer in front of it. And that's like a monolithic style app. So maybe you've got a front end, you've got some middleware, and maybe you've got a SQL database as well. When we talk about application modernization, what that actually means in the Azure space is re-architecting the application to provide either more scalability, more resiliency, or just to separate out components so that we can be more efficient with cost. So if you think of something like a mortgage processing application, that's made up of loads of different components, and traditionally most of them would have sat on one large server. When we go to modernization of that, we'd split out the components, whether it be a worker node that's a function app or a web front end, or maybe there's some calculation that's done, and then the database. We split them out into separate components so that we can ensure that the efficiency of all of them is probably about 90%, maybe 80%. So that allows us to use a web app for the front end, some function apps for all the worker bits, and then we might have some SQL paths for the back end. It also means that if we need to change any of those elements, let's say we have a risk-based calculation that's done with a function app. If I need to make a change to that one service, I can take the one service offline.
Yeah.
Rather than in the olden days, or as most companies are still there, take a virtual machine and we go, okay, we've got to apply OS updates.
Yeah, there could be 10 other applications actually running on that server, isn't it? Someone's tried to cut costs, like you say, we've got an IIS site. There could be 10 other web pages on there, and just by doing that one change, you've actually taken down half the business functions.
Yeah, some people will have like a development IIS box, or so they've got like you say, 10, 20 different apps on it. Some of them might have a production one where they've got one service on it, but that is made of 5 different apps. And again, if you want to push any update to it, or you need to reboot the server or something like that, you've affected all of it. So yeah, splitting those out, coming up with a modern version of that architecture allows you to do really clever things as well, like have increase in high availability, split across regions, have seamless failover. So use like SQL failover groups and traffic manager to manage between regions. And if you're really big, and you're lucky enough to be really big, and you've got a traffic problem, then actually you can scale out as needed. So it might be that you are the hook group and you've got a website, and for Black Friday, you know you're going to get absolutely pelted with the requests. So the solution can just scale out. If you've got virtual machine infrastructure, it's a bit harder.
Yeah.
You've either got like a golden image, or you've got to pre-configure these, or
it's a lot of manual intervention, I think, there, isn't it? You've got to copy things around, you've got to have load balancers, and it's a lot harder to test, isn't it?
Yeah, traditionally before like Black Friday events or like Christmas or anything like that, infrastructure teams and developers would spend loads of time just going, okay, well, we've got to get production ready because we need 5 times the capacity or something like that. If you've gone to that modernized view, it'd just scale out. Now, and like I said, something like web apps is perfect for that, but it could be Azure container applications, container instances. It could even be AKS if you want to go as far as that.
I think one point you touched on there, like I say, we've gone from having one big server, it's got all these applications on it, which we're sharing resource. Now we're spreading that out. What does that affect, like the cost look like for that? Are we looking, is it going to be a cheaper solution for a client? Is it going to be more expensive?
So it depends. There's a big asterisk on this. If you aren't careful, you can end up with the whole solution costing more money. So in terms of availability and resiliency, what do we have and what do we want? If it's exactly the same and you're doing it in a very careful way, it can be cheaper. More often than not, it's going to be the same or a little bit more expensive. But that is because you're paying for that additional benefit of having them as microservices and managing them in that way.
I guess that frees up your IT team as well, doesn't it? So you're not doing patching servers, and you can kind of concentrate on the more fun stuff then, can't they? Yeah,
so from an internal cost point of view, you're probably reducing the like IT platform ops side of things. And there's an argument that the cost or the reward for your developers being able to just be a bit more agile and deploy to deployment slots actually helps the business achieve a higher value. It depends on the type of business. If you're a retail, like online trader, probably massively benefits you. If you are just providing some internal services, there might not be quite the same return on investment.
Yeah, I think it's the shift in the skill set as well a bit, isn't it? Is, you know, admins are used to having a nice Windows box, logging onto that. It's got IIS on it, it's got a website. You know, it's got binders on it. It makes it nice and simple, doesn't it? So actually to to shift it, does it then become a full developers issue? Is it
Yeah.
move it away from the infrastructure team then?
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times in the past. There's a big difference between like you say the old VM way, where the IT manager was responsible for making sure everything was online. Developers now use like brand new tools. You know, a lot of like web development, for example, is done in React. A lot of IT, like infrastructure people, have never used React in their life, and there's always been the VM's on. So, Mr. Developer, it should just be working. Crack on with
it's
it.
It's your problem, that one now.
Yeah. So there's always been a bit of that. Moving to microservices, especially when you leverage Azure pipelines for delivery and testing, is good in that your developers have more control, but the IT ops guys need to manage it in a slightly different way. Yeah. So you still need to provide that the platform's there, but like, again, going back to web apps, you can go, okay, well, it's provided, it's secure, it's got presentation through front door or something like that. But as a developer, you've got deployment slots. So if you want 10 slots, you just keep on deploying to the same thing. So it does shift that responsibility out.
So we're talking about modernising apps there. So if someone said to you, I want to modernise my app, what I'm going to do is I'm going to migrate my server from VMware. I'm going to put that into Azure. Is that modernising my app?
No.
Or is that just moving a problem?
Yeah. You've still got the same thing. If you just take your VM into Azure, it's generally not going to be the best idea. We should start with that sort of flow of, can it be SaaS? Can we make it someone else's problem? Does it make sense to make it someone else's problem? So like Exchange Online, great example of that. I don't want to manage email. I used to do Exchange all the time. I don't want to touch it anymore. So yeah, Exchange Online, that's fine. But then for the services where we go, okay, well, it's in-house developed and SaaS solution doesn't really exist for it. Okay, fine. Can it be PaaS? So are there some platform managed services that we can leverage? So things like SQLMI, ACA, ACI, web app, function app, that kind of thing. And then if we can't do that, there's some limitation. You know, I've got this crusty, horrible, old legal application that only works on 2008 servers.
Yeah, it's completely unsupported. The vendor's gone bust.
Yeah. If that's the case, and it really doesn't work, like actually doesn't work, then you should be choosing VM. If you've just chosen the VM because you go, well, we've got virtual machine skills in-house, we've got like one developer and we just need to make this work, you're probably going to spend more money and you're not going to get any benefit really.
Do you think you have to be a developer to do it though? In terms of, I guess, modernising a web app, let's just say, not an IIS site.
Depends how complex it is. If you've got IIS running at the moment on a server, there is a app evaluation service that Microsoft provide that'll tell you if the application can be migrated straight away. Yeah. And then there's a migrator tool that will move the application from IIS or copy it from IIS straight into a web app. That means that you've solved the problem of having the underlying VM. So massive benefit. Now you've got a web app, brilliant. You haven't got the maximum benefit because you've not started to leverage the sort of ADO pipeline type tools. Yeah. So it means that from a delivery point of view, you want to push changes or anything like that, it's still going to be manual.
Yeah, still like a VM at that point, isn't it?
Yeah. You've cut out that VM layer, so you don't have to do OS patching. You don't have to look at why services and processes are starting to eat all the RAM. You don't have to do any of that. So it has cut a good chunk out, but you've not got the maximum benefit. So do you need to be a developer? Probably the answer is yes in most cases. I think that a lot of IT professionals could get .NET apps, especially .NET apps into Azure very easily and get a good chunk of the benefit.
Yeah, I think we get asked a lot as well. Do clients actually need to be in Azure to leverage this? Can they be on-premise still? And can they run it in a hybrid, or do you have to be fully in Azure?
No, it's a fair question. It depends on the service you want to run. So if you want to run containerization, Docker and AKS have been around since day dot, right? You can run that locally, and you can run containers in very different various different platforms. So you could achieve the same thing, but it is going to be a bit harder. You're going to have to understand how to use things like Docker. You're going to have to understand how to use AKS. AKS, notoriously, there's a lot of people out there that know it really well. It's quite difficult. Microsoft have made that a bit easier with ACA. So Azure Container Apps is like a SaaS type product for AKS. So Kubernetes service sits underneath it. You as the user just get this nice little bit at the top that you can just load your container into and run it from there. So you miss out on all those benefits, but yeah, you could run this on-prem. a lot of people for a very long time, like the TOGAF way of deploying enterprise apps was always monolithic. You have front end, you have middleware, and you have a back end. But all kinds of companies at the moment are running like microservices architecture in data centers.
Yeah.
Netflix is one of them. So they do their CDN through that as well. So obviously when we talk about modernization, we're talking a lot about the actual applications itself, but the insights into the applications are just as important.
Yeah.
So Azure supports Arc, right? How do you think that you could use that for your on-prem to start the modernization journey?
We see more clients are having kind of the multi-cloud approach as well, aren't we? Is not putting all their eggs in one basket. So I think by having Azure Arc gives you a really good overview of your hybrid environment, doesn't it? Drills into the applications, you can see stats from it. I think I guess it's a step to modernising that application then.
Yeah, it can be quite good if you mentioned there multi-cloud. If you want to do like some bespoke service that's only in AWS or GCP and doesn't exist in Microsoft, if you're a Microsoft house, kind of makes sense. Extend Arc into one of those other cloud platforms as well, and then you can tie it all together. Netflix have built some of their DR platform in GCP. So they're an AWS house, but they build DR in GCP now so that they can be cloud resilient or cloud vendor resilient. And if you were in Azure and that was a concern for you, then you could do the same, but still, as a Microsoft house, view everything under one platform.
We've seen a lot of companies, I think, come to us with the idea of they want to modernise their apps. We want to get it done in 4 or 5 weeks' time. It looks nice and easy. There's a wizard to do it. I think it's just not the case, is it? I think you've seen it firsthand, hasn't it, in terms of the journey clients need to take to kind of modernise that app, and I guess change the way they're working as a team as well.
Yeah, as like a development team, if you've got used to storing things locally, maybe they're on a file share and you just push them to a VM and that's how you update your app. When we start looking at modernization and the journey to a cloud platform, it's not as simple as, we just take the thing you've got today, we break it up into a couple of little parts and we just throw it into these services. You need to think about long term, how are we gonna manage code? So are we using Git? We should be. Where's our repo going to be? How are we going to deliver pipelines? How do we do branching? What's our branching policy? How do we do pull requests to merge changes into that repo? And then how do we ultimately deliver? And until you've got a good understanding of how you're going to run it day to day, you shouldn't really be moving anything. That's the biggest mistake I've seen, where people are either rushed and just thrown something into Azure and then have had to go, okay,
how do you actually manage this thing now? Yeah,
this thing's in production. How do we walk back from here and keep it alive? Or we've sort of done it, we've sort of half done it, and now that person's left and we've got no idea, so we actually can't push any updates.
Yeah.
So now we've got an app that's just useless to us. That's quite common as well. The amount of times I've spoke to someone about some application, .NET application they've got, and we find out that it's on version 4.1 or something like that, which isn't supported in Azure. It's already got vulnerabilities. It should have been patched already. If it wasn't being maintained at that point, why is it going to be different when we move it to Azure?
Yeah.
So a general process has to change. In terms of that change, obviously that's like a team and personal level.
I say the tech actually is sometimes the easiest part, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That cultural bit around getting people to adopt new process, understand that things can take more time, at least initially.
Yeah.
Like if you've got a really well-oiled system, let's say you go through architecture review board, then maybe you've got change board, and then you've got delivery. It can be seen as quite a slow process
compared to I just used to log onto a VM and just update the code,
change this ini file. Yeah, it's done. But if you get that process quite slick, you've got some companies now that are doing like a change a day, pushing changes to live code just throughout the day, maybe even multiple times a day.
I think it's the risk to the business, isn't it? Like downtime. I think once you can get to that process, it's hope it's kind of 0.001% at that point, won't you? Compared to in the past, of like say, we had one production server, a dev server. They were out of sync between each other, so it kind of worked in dev, didn't work in prod.
Well, if you that sort of like golden utopia is that everything's the same.
Yeah.
It's some environment variables that change. So if you've got release pipelines and you've got all these separate services and you want to make one change to prod as like a hotfix to one component, you can run it in dev and within like an hour, you could have gone through all the environments.
Yeah.
Nothing's gone offline, and then you've got it in production straight away. Obviously, for a hotfix, you'd run it through quick, but you don't need to always do it that quick.
Yeah. I think no matter what people do, like say running a traditional OS, there's just you just can't do that, can you? So
No.
things are out of sync, Windows update failed on one, it's on the other one, someone's copied a file.
Yeah. It's not a place that you want to end up being at. Databases being out of sync is really common as well. But yeah, applications, the amount of times that you'll say to people, oh, well, can we just like re-roll test or UAT or pre-prod or something like that? And they'll be like, no, because it doesn't match prod, and then where are we going to get the data from? You're like,
yeah,
these environments should be the same, or you just shouldn't have multiple environments.
Yeah, it's not a true test at that point, is it?
No, it's a completely different product or it's a completely different service.
I think people embarking on this journey have got to realise it's not a quick, 5-6 week project. It's a long project, and it's a change in culture, isn't it, within the team? But kind of what things you've seen that have gone kind of wrong for people in terms of expectations, maybe, or things have just overrun and the project's failed.
A couple stand out to me. I think poor design generally is probably the easiest mistake to make. There's
designing it as you go along, or
there tends to be a lot of like, oh well, we don't really know, but we just know that we need to get it in there. So if we just do it really quickly, we'll come back and fix it later.
Yeah,
it's a term that you hear all the time in IT.
And by that point, once it's live, you can't say that offline.
No. If it's in production, it's online. No one's letting you take that off.
Yeah, and
you start saying things like, "Oh, this API service that's in production, we want to put API management gateway in front of it." No one's going to do it.
No,
because you go, okay, well, now we've got to reach out to all these third parties and ask them to change their endpoints and do this, and this. And
so actually putting the graphs up front, I think, is definitely a key takeaway, isn't it, for people looking to do it?
Yeah, I would say so. Come up with like, as an organisation, if you're developing your own apps, you'll have like set patterns of stuff that you'll be doing. It might be React, it might be .NET, it might be whatever it is that you're using, JavaScript, something like that. Come up with like what your golden pattern is. So we deliver this type of application on these services and it looks like this, like as a general pattern. And then if everyone agrees on that, when you got to deploy application 5, 6 or 7, you just go and deploy the pattern. It's fine. And then you know exactly what you're deploying. I think having that conversation up front, getting everyone's buy-in and agreeing that it's like secure, it does the job, it's easy to manage, it's easy to maintain and push code to, is the right way to do things.
I think people not feeling the pressure to actually get an application live. They can just move it, have it there as a test, like you say, almost have that as a dev environment, so they've got used to how it works, how to push out pipelines to it.
I think a lot of people make the mistake of saying that they'll do the app modernization because of time pressures, normally because of like a data center exit or kit going end of life or something like that. They will just go, right, well, we'll just move the VM. And then once the VM's in Azure, then we'll do the modernization. That won't work either because you've moved this VM, it's costing you, I don't know, £400 a month, let's say. And you go, okay, I want to do a project that's going to cost me 50 grand to modernize this big monolithic app. No one's ever going to spend the money, ever.
We just signed off on that big project. There's no chance we're doing that.
Yeah, it's in Azure now. What do you mean? We don't need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, it's modernized. That's it.
Come up with a pattern, get your developers on board, make sure that the infrastructure team can support it. Maybe get some external help for maybe the first one or a few of those applications. Set those standards out, and then between infrastructure and developer, you should just be able to steam through them. Unless they're so out of date that it's never going to work. There's a point where you have to go, look, this thing needs to just be sunsetted. We need to just write something new.
Yeah.
Because there's...
you can plow that many hours into trying to get it working. It's just not viable, is it?
How long would it have taken to just build something new or buy something off the shelf?
Off the shelf products.
Yeah. We've talked about the 5 Rs and repurchase and retire are 2 of them, and they should be really seriously considered. Do we actually need this thing? Can we just delete it if we can? And if we can't, then can we just rebuy it? Can we go and buy an off-the-shelf product instead? The amount of times I've seen developers or teams of developers build like some crazy application that there's a thing
for
that exists.
$100 a month. Yeah,
we just spent 3 months of developer time on this. Internal cost always gets missed, but it can be a lot.
Yeah, I think when you're working for a business like that, where they've got an internal IT team, I think they just don't look at that, do they, as a cost to them?
No, not at all. They don't see the difference between like external, like someone coming in doing a bit of professional services work for you. Oh, that's seen as dead expensive. But if you've got a team of developers that are all on, 50 plus K a year, they've got 10 of them and they've worked on it for a year. Well, then you've just spent £500,000. So you could have just got a professional services team that's done it like 100 times and they would have done it in a month or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, I think it is just having the right people out at the start of the project, isn't it? It's, I guess setting out the foundations, getting things right at the start, and giving them the tools to be able to move on and do it.
It's difficult because it's seen as a developer's job. Developers are typically very agile, very good at delivering code very quickly, but not always, at least the ones that I've come in contact with, not always the best at taking a step back and looking at like infrastructure security, the setup, how is it going to be to maintain. A lot of developers are seriously talented, so something that they put in will seem easy to them. But then when we've got to hire some junior developers to start bolstering that team, they just don't even know where to start with it.
But I think that's the crossover between jobs, isn't it? It's like, say, you mentioned the security there. Obviously, security should be at the front of everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's not their job almost, is it? How are we going to secure? Is it going to have private endpoints on it? Is it going to be public? How are we going to secure the front end to it?
But that's where the infrastructure and platform ops teams should come into play.
Yeah.
Because like you've mentioned security, but also cost as well. So FinOps, security ops, or DevSecOps as it's now called, all of that should be baked into everyone's delivery, but predominantly the platform team. And then the developer's job is there to deliver the best code as quickly as possible. So we shouldn't be sacrificing anything, and just putting it all on the developer. It's a recipe for disaster, really, and it's unfair. Like having the responsibility of security when you're a developer. Yeah. It's a bit much. You've already got to know 50,000 programming languages and have the pressure of developing whatever the company's asked you for.
Yeah, I guess you just want the right people who've done it, repeatable things, isn't it, in terms of building landing zones, getting it all set up how it should be.
Yeah, you could just have a champion in the business, though. You can just have someone that's maybe a little bit more process and architecturally minded rather than delivery.
Yeah.
You tend to find whoever's your lead engineer or lead developer ends up with this responsibility. They might not be the best.
Yeah.
They might not be the right person for it. You might have someone in IT ops that's like really good at thinking about things holistically rather than just from a tech point of view.
Yeah, and sometimes it isn't, like say, the actual tech, the doing part, isn't it? It's the thinking of the bigger picture.
Yeah. What are the business outcomes? What's the business looking for this thing to do? How available does it need to be? You don't need the most expensive, best system in the world. Sometimes you need something that's, on for 4 days a week because that's all it's ever used.
I think keep it simple, isn't it? Like I say, people tend to overcomplex things. And
yeah, sometimes that's needed, but it's not a lot of businesses that operate 24/7.
No.
Like that need full IT available all of the time. So change windows and stuff like that, they exist. You just do it out of hours for most companies.
I think one I read about microservices, I think people tend to think it's great. It's quite cheap. It's only a small thing to do.
Mm.
But when I've got 40,000 of them, because the developers have been doing little chunks at a time, so it's kind of seeing the bigger picture of how that fits together for your business as well.
Yeah, let's say you have a single server that's got SQL database on it, it's got a front end on it, like you've multi-homed it. It's probably bad architecture, but you've done it anyway. So the VM could, in theory, cost £120 a month for like a, I'm trying to think of the SKUs, but like a D2S or a D4S, something like that. I think that'd be D2S actually at that price. If you then went, okay, well, it's got to be quite lightweight. So we go, okay, the web front end's going to be a web app. So minimum price of that is like £35. We need SQL PaaS. Minimum price of that would be PostSQL you could probably get away with. That's going to be about £20. But then you need some worker nodes as well. So you've got some function running in app services. You could be adding another £30 or £40 there as well.
And now they need dev test.
Yeah. Now you need multiple environments. Now you need pipelines. And because you've got pipelines, you need ADO agents. And then before you know it, you've spent more than the VM anyway.
Well, I guess some of that's foundation as well. A lot of that stuff you can reuse as well, can't you?
Yeah. So a thing that we've done quite often is take the ADO agents and put them into DevOps pools.
Yeah.
So the new Dev Center service in Azure means that we can run pooled agents. We can have multiple of them. We don't always do that. And they are just shared between all the pipelines. So if you've got a lot of development work going on, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I guess if you've got one thing you try and do, it might seem expensive, but I guess if you build it out, you can start reusing things.
Yeah, just be sensible. Like that's talked about one application, but that database ideally would be consumed by more than one thing. And just try to be as clever as you can with the spend that's going on.
I think that comes down to the landing zone, isn't it, in terms of subscription, cost management for it as well, is really kind of keeping a key on it, because people want to say, oh yeah, I've just up the SKU of that one just to test something. 20 days later,
it's left.
still running away in the background.
So for dev, you should still have change control, which sounds a little bit weird, but then you could have Sandbox as well. So Sandbox as a subscription ideally would have a financial cap, and it depends if you want this or not, but I'd recommend it, a 30-day burn period, so applications or services running there for 30 days and then get killed off.
And your idea around that is you've got everything in code, so you can just re-push it back out. Yeah,
if you're deploying it manually, how were you planning on this going through 4 or 5 environments? So but if you could do that, then from like a developer point of view, you're not holding them back. They can just go and do whatever they want. Financial point of view, you're saying, I'm prepared to spend £12,000 a year. £1,000 a month, you can do whatever you want. And then that just maintains your development environment a little bit better. Because development is development of services, not testing of new services, like proof of concept type stuff.
Yeah.
Although it depends on your business practice. You need to come up with your own processes of what you want to do. So think about latency. When you're on a single VM and everything's like multi-homed, again, bad architectural practice, but you could do it. Latency is as low as it could possibly be. Some of the mistakes that people will make is when we talk about microservices, we've talked about abstracting some of those bits away. They will fragment things far too much. And what that can do, if you start using App Insights in the mix as well, is you can see the calls are taking so long between all the services. Let's say you end up with 40 different function apps and web apps and all this other stuff that link together. Because they're all calling each other and you've separated out so much, you've actually ended up with responses taking longer. So cost is definitely an issue, but performance could be an issue as well. So you want to think about what's the data flow of the application that you've got, what makes the most sense to be in different services. And it could be that that's absolutely fine, 40 is what you need, brilliant, do it, but there could be some unintended consequences as a result of it. So I mentioned it already, but App Insights, when hooked up properly, will show you where the delta is. So right from the very front end of something like Traffic Manager, Front Door, or APIM, can show you every delay and how long it took for that call to come back. So once you've got into Azure, hugely powerful. If you've messed up in your design maybe a little bit, you could use that to work out why and then make a bit of a change to it. I've seen people load, because they've used that legacy mindset, load massive PowerShell scripts into function apps. So they call a function app to run a service and it runs through 20,000 lines of code.
Just sat there waiting.
Yeah. So the function app just runs for 4 or 5 minutes to do a thing that maybe could have been handled in a slightly different way, especially if they've got if statements and else. Yeah, it gets a bit complex.
But again, it comes down to the design, doesn't it? It's actually taking the time at the start to get it laid out correctly.
Yeah, and sometimes it is the right thing is to go, okay, we want to modernize the app, and it runs on a bit of .NET and a bit of PowerShell.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the modernization's probably not the resources that we're using. It's probably rewriting the app in something that makes a lot more sense.
Which I think some people don't want to hear, do they?
The development time's far.
It is rewriting.
Yeah, there can be some egos.
And I think a lot of the time, the legacy apps, aren't they? Like I say, it's been there a long time. There's people who have left the business, people have come in, not understood the code, stuck a bit of extra code in there to get it working.
The worst is probably where the person wasn't a developer. They were IT, and they got pushed a bit into development. They've built something.
Started using a bit of AI to help them with the code.
Yeah, it could be that bad, or they built it 10 years ago and they've maintained it and looked after it like it's the baby. But really, in the modern world, PowerShell being ran for application services, I don't know. There's definitely better ways. Yeah. That tends to be the big thing. But like you say, it's always the old stuff. It's never the new stuff, really. The new wave of sort of cloud-born developers, pretty good, pretty efficient, pretty good at building lightweight services.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be. It should be as lightweight as possible.
Which that's almost a different skill set now then, in terms of the role of a developer, where it's gone. Is it a different job completely?
Yeah, I would say so. Because if you build like a .NET app on IIS, you know that you've got loads of compute. You can do whatever you want. If you started learning today, you would start with local containers on your laptop.
Yeah.
So you already live in that lightweight container world. Whether you should or shouldn't, you've also got vibe coding. You can just build things relatively quickly. The danger is that, you kind of briefly touched on it, that those people don't know what they've built. Again, another big problem that you could take into Azure.
It's fine building it, isn't it? But actually managing it, looking after it, troubleshooting.
Yeah. And then you could have someone externally come in and review the application code you've developed and find out that there's, some massive security vulnerability with it, or actually it's really poor performance.
I think for me, coming from a non-dev background, kind of infrastructure is a bit more black and white, isn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of got, you've got baselines, how things should be done, frameworks. So kind of there's a tick box to say that is correct, that's been done correctly, but code, it's that bespoke.
Yeah. I
know there's ways to lay things out, write things, but kind of...
There's guidance. Yeah. That's the problem. It's like you say, it's never really black and white. A lot of infrastructure guys like me and you have got previous Exchange experience. And in Exchange, because that's like application but infrastructure, in Exchange, it works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
You've either configured it right or it doesn't work at all. Auto-discover. Doesn't work at all most of the time.
No one can get in.
Yeah, yeah. But you could build an application that's just slow.
Yeah.
Like just natively slow. Still works, appears fine, everyone moans about it, you're not really sure why.
Outlook takes 30 seconds to open each time because there's plugin someone's written.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. How many times have we seen that?
Yeah.
Dodgy add-ins, yeah.
Yeah, it's like calling someone's kid ugly, isn't it, though?
Yeah. No comment. So from a PaaS point of view, if we've decided we're going to modernize, we're going to build our new app, we're going to use all these cool new services in Azure, they're PaaS. So big pushback that we get sometimes, not all the time, but it's a big deal for them, is if I move all my services into PaaS environment, am I not vendor locked? What am I going to do if I want to leave?
How can you actually get that application back out?
Yeah. So what would you say to the people that are worried about that kind of thing?
Yeah, be worried. No. I think the modern way of doing it, in terms of you've got the code written, that code can be reused elsewhere, can't it? Within other services, obviously there's going to be things that are slightly different, but that code is yours. Microsoft are a big player in the market, so some stuff is going to take a long time to get it out of there in terms of refactoring it. As a developer yourself, you'll know the code at that level.
No, not a developer, absolutely not. No, I think you're right. I think if you are developing your code in the right way, and you're using infrastructure as code, or not even the infrastructure as code, actually, sorry. If you're using the good development practices, then the services should be able to run in any container. And if they can run in any container, they can run on any platform, whether that's Azure, which it should be, Microsoft Shield, by the way, AWS, GCP, or even one day we might might see a big shift back to on-prem.
Yeah, these data centers you can have in your office again.
Yeah, everyone's going to come with these low-cost DCs, yeah. So, I think in terms of vendor-locked, you become a bit reliant on the services that they've got, but we can easily undo that. We can easily go somewhere else if we need to. So, have you heard about the Netflix move that happened?
No.
So, Netflix, I've mentioned them a couple of times in this because they're quite interesting case study. They were AWS only, and basically the whole operation was AWS. They then moved DR to GCP for a bit of cloud agnosticness, if that's a word, which it isn't. And then their CDN network, so the bit that sends you the data to your TV, is about 95% of their operation in terms of like data and bandwidth, everything. So it's absolutely enormous. And what they've done is they've moved that from AWS to on-prem. And when I say on-prem, obviously I just mean data centers.
Not sat in their office.
Not
server under Darren's desk.
Yeah, little server next to Doris and Darren. Yeah. They've taken their highest cost part of their operation and just put it at the edge. So it's not in a public hosted DC anymore, or public cloud. It's now in private DC.
And that's purely down to cost why they've done that.
Yeah. So cost and control. The CDN for Netflix is a little bit unique because CDN's required for really good video streaming services, but actually they can lose elements of it and not be a problem because of the data egress. Because as we know, like Microsoft will happily take all of your data and it costs you very little to get it in there. If you need data to go out, it's really expensive. It's about 3 times the cost. So if you run a CDN network in Azure or AWS, all of the traffic is outbound to the client. So by just taking that one component out, like I say, about 95% of their cost, and putting it in data centers, they remove that problem entirely. Now for Netflix, because the size that they are, buying kit and using DCs just isn't a consideration at all. It's not a problem. Cost is never going to be an issue for them. If you were a small business, you might not be able to just go, I'll just run my own CDN network and run all
Actually,
this.
I need another data center and he's buying twice as much kit to get that to work.
Yeah, so it doesn't translate quite that well, but it's a good case study to just go to show that you need to consider what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, and what's the implication going to be that.
I think at the time it might be right for some business as well, man, in terms of scale.
Yeah.
And so, like you say, they could have, like Netflix wasn't this big at the start, so it started off, this solution's fine, the costs are okay. But then once you ramp it up by a few million users.
If you're a business and you're making £100,000 a year profit, and someone asks you for £2 million in IT investment, that's going to be a hard sell.
Yeah.
But as things progress and you get bigger and better as a company, there might be some elements where you go, yeah, we would really like that bit on-prem. An example that we've had with a client not that long ago is they want to be able to do CAD modeling, and it just didn't really suit from a cost point of view. So then they've got a hybrid model where they've got Azure for a lot of their services, but they've got some data center for that high compute CAD stuff.
Yeah.
And that's probably perfect world, really. How do we ensure success? Or more importantly, I suppose, how do we measure the success of a migration?
My takeaway, I think, from this discussion, I think it's getting it right at the start. The building blocks is actually, the migration, if it was going to take X amount of months, but it's actually putting the work up front. I think getting the design right. It's getting vendors involved, isn't it? It's getting the key stakeholders within the business. I think a point you said as well, do you just need to buy a new app or rewrite it from scratch? It might not be the right thing.
Need to have
that app over.
Need to have those sensible conversations. So from a business point of view, what does the service do? What do we need it to do? How available does it need to be? How much do we care about it?
Yeah. I think sometimes getting someone from the outside to look at that, because I think when you're in the trenches and that, like say you're protected of that application, someone's come and say, well, actually, why are you doing it like that?
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing X, Y, Z?
Yeah, could be done far easier. Yeah, me and Chris always say there's always a third option. So there's like do the right thing, do the wrong thing, and then sometimes there's a I don't care. And the I don't care could be, well, actually, fine, it can stay as a VM. It can just go and live there. So like I say, understanding that the business reasons and the business justification for what you're doing will make a massive impact.
Yeah.
And then just well planned. Like design it well, come up with how it's going to be used, and then deploy it, and it'll be a success. In terms of KPIs, you need to have some indication that it's performed well. So I think you need to do cost analysis beforehand. So we estimate this service is going to cost us £1,000 a month to run. For that £1,000 a month to run, how much do we think that generates for the business? Okay, we now know the ratio. Once it's deployed, what does that really look like? Again, going back to retail, have we increased sales? Like, are more people completing baskets because the site's a bit more responsive? Like, is there some improvement?
Yeah, less failure rate, I guess, of people.
Yeah, if you can show that there's a return on that investment, that's ideal. But at a bare minimum, does the cost match the projected?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will go, okay, well, we've got it into the cloud, and now actually we've got some performance issues. So what we'll do is we'll double the SKU of the SQL, and now your SQL's gone from, I don't know, £100 to now it's £850 because you've kept on increasing it. And that would be an indicator to me that it was poorly designed or poorly delivered. So those are the kind of things that I would personally use as KPIs, along with what's the effect been for the business.
Yeah.
So
I think downtime's a big one, like you say, talking about pipelines, controls, deployments.
Yeah.
I think looking at that from a business point of view, have we had any downtime? Have we had issues we've had pushing code out?
Speed to delivery. If your development team have sat around for 2 weeks waiting for a change to be approved or for that downtime window to come up so they can do it, and actually now it takes them 2 days. Well, internal business-wise, you've probably gained some financial benefit there that it's just a bit harder to quantify.
Yeah, so actually the cost in Azure is 30% more, say, but actually we've not had any downtime.
Yeah.
The business is, it's had the best month in terms of functionality.
So some organizations will try to put, and it works really well when you have sales because it's a bit easier, cost per X. So you go, okay, well, our cost to deliver the platform that provides us with a sale is £5 per sale or £2 per visit, that kind of cost per X. And then when you go into Azure, because you can scale and you could effectively push more marketing to get more bandwidth or traffic, I should say, you could see that cost per X improve. That's ideal as a KPI. So again, going back to that, business outcomes, like how do you want to define what good looks like? What's a success? Can we, take a service out back and shoot it and it survives? Like, can we fail over to a second region and it's improved? A lot of organizations might have DR, but really DR to them is actually what's backed up in another data center.
Yeah, it'd take us 5-6 hours to get the VM restored. We've actually need to sort the network out to get connectivity to it.
Yeah, this is a critical system. If it's off for an hour, we lose 50 grand an hour or something like that.
Yeah. This should be the question of, did it fail over? You'd be like, failed over.
Yeah, exactly.
We lost 1 millisecond.
Yeah, use like Traffic Manager. They changed the SLA for it recently. Traffic Manager now has 100% SLA. So you got multiple regions with services served by Traffic Manager. In theory, you could have 100% SLA. So it just fails over to the second region. You've got a failover group for your SQL database. Perfect world.
Can't put a price on that one, can you?
No. Your CTO and CFO would be happy. Maybe not your CFO because you will have spent more money, but your CTO will be happy.
Yeah,
and the CEO, most importantly.
I think now in the world we live in, I think reputation's that big, isn't it? In terms of, you hear it in the news, don't you? Now, if a website's down, if mobile network's down, etc.,
you'd just never use them again, would you?
No.
I was looking online and saw some like mugs on Zavi. They do like Superman mugs and stuff like that. Silly stuff.
Just for your kids.
Yeah, sure, for my kids, yeah. That drink tea all the time. And it was a really slow system. And then I was forced to make an account rather than be a guest. And making the account was really slow. So I just closed it down. I've never been to the site since.
Customer lost?
Yeah, lost a sale as a result of that. Zavi, if you're watching, this is for you.
I think people are getting more savvy, don't want to give their information away, though.
Yeah. Even if you don't sign up, you still got it.
You're like, I've tricked them.
Yeah, you've still got their address. You've got everything.
My pet hate now is when you go shopping and they say, can we have your email address, send you the receipt?
No.
I'm like, no, just print me one out.
Yeah. Or don't give me one, I don't care. I was speaking to I think he's the architect of ASOS, and he was saying that their failed baskets is what they call it. They worked on that as a project over 12 months. They were already in the cloud, but they modernized their apps further. Their app modernization massively reduced that number, and that was really important to them because they reckon that that's like, a couple of £1 million a year in lost revenue because people will look at something, sort of sit in there and then just play on the phone and then do something else. And they wanted to drive the engagement and the speed of which that the user actually goes through with the sale. So we've sort of talked around app modernization, what goes wrong, what goes right, why people might want to come back out of it. What do we think of the big takeaways from this? Obviously, we've got the KPIs. We care about that a lot. And we've got the do it once, do it right kind of approach. Are there anything else you think we should be really mindful of?
I think it's the team. I'd say the internal IT team's a big one for me in terms of, I think they've got to be on the journey kind of, I guess, with us in terms of they want to do it, they can see the benefit and actually follow the process that we've discussed in terms of release schedules, the new way of thinking. Yeah,
I think those developers that are a bit hesitant to go from, well, I just use a file server for Git and I just sort of load files on, is a massive benefit for them. Okay, they get to work with new cool tech. They might not care about that as much, but they get to learn new things and they get to learn new skills that are just used widely across the sectors. So why wouldn't you want to modernize the way that you deliver, not just the app, but what your day-to-day job is? And for those IT platform teams, if you're still managing VMs today, it's boring. Like, you might love VMs, but personally, I'm bored to tears with them. I've been doing it for like 15 years now. I don't want to touch them anymore. I want to play with the cool stuff, the new stuff.
I think it's how you attract the top talent as well, isn't it? If you want to get the best people in your business, you come for an interview, what have you got? You're like, yeah, I've got a Server 2012 R2,
yeah,
a few IS sites, got some apps on there.
And we're using this new thing called Office 365 a little bit.
You got Exchange Online?
yeah, no, not yet. But then if you go, okay, well, we're like bleeding edge, we're using container instances, registries, we use AKS a little bit. We provide API externally through APIM. We've got all this like new tech. It sounds like quite an interesting place to go and learn some new skills. So I
think it shows you the journey that business is on, the investment it's putting into IT and the benefits it sees from it.
Yeah, because again, favorite quote, no idea who originally said it, but every business is a tech business. It doesn't matter if you're a law firm or you're a retailer or whatever it is. In this day and age, you should be using tech to make more money.
Yeah.
There's very few businesses that can like operate fully and not be a tech business. Maybe your driveway being relayed is probably not a tech business, but everything from bread loaves manufacturing to online sales to whatever it is, it's all tech led. But it should be tech led. Just before we call it, what do you think's the next big thing in cloud native architecture? So we've had big push from don't move VMs. Okay, move them if you have to. Try and use PaaS. What do you think's the next big wave? Because we've got AKS and everyone sort of started to go into that. Now we've got ACA, so people don't need to use AKS quite the same. What's the next thing?
AI,
all the things.
What do you think AI is a game changer in terms of app development, app writing?
Yeah, used by the right people.
Can it turn you from zero to hero?
No, it can't. No, that's a misconception. If you're skilled and you understand what you want the thing to do, you can use AI to make yourself quicker. If you're unskilled and you're doing something that you've got no idea what to do, you're going to make a nightmare for yourself. It
might look good, like say, it might be a nice front end, but in the back end, it's
held together with tape, or it's insecure, or there'll be some downside to it. It's making a rod for
you
your
need to understand what you're writing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't need to understand all of the code, but like at least I need this service to do this. I need it to consume this. Like understanding how it all links together. And then what you need to do is if you are going to write something in using a bit of vibe coding, you need to go and look back at the code and see if you can understand it. Because one day there's going to be a problem that you don't really want AI just throwing itself into to try and fix. So as long as you've got base understanding of like, how is this leaderboard structured? How is fair play turned on? This little toggle, like it's well worth doing.